Hey ladies and gents, and welcome to the Controlled Interest Gamecast, where we talk about video games and everything happening in the industry, episode 65. As always, I'm joined by Dom. Just two of us this week. Unfortunately, Jordan wasn't able to join us. He's playing Breath of the Wild in real life. He had to help move some horses or something. Real world immersion. Exactly. So just the two of us this week. Quite a bit of news. We're going to be talking about Kingdom Hearts 3 later without Jordan, which is kind of weird. But first we have to talk about what we've been playing. I didn't play anything this week. I didn't even watch anything this week except for the Game of Thrones premiere, which, how am I going to miss that, obviously. Yeah, I didn't play anything at all. I was just super busy. The podcast was even late this week. I was so busy that I didn't even realize that when I first exported it that mine and Jordan's audio tracks were muted. So I uploaded it and put it up with just Dom's voice, and Dom was the first one to realize that, so thank you for that, Dom. Exactly. I just wanted the Dom only episode. I got my own episode and you guys were gone. Everybody deserves their own. Yeah, so sorry that the episode was late this week. I was just super busy. No excuse. Next week it'll be up by Sunday or Monday. Still figuring out when I want it to go live for us, but that's a story for another day. I haven't been playing anything. Actually, I did read something. I reread through Civil War. So I know you're not like super into comics, Dom, but you know how like they release individual comics, and then for like events or big things they release like the graphic novel, or like the trade that's like all of them put together, right? Like you just have to buy one book, which is super easy for people that are I think I'm a little bit more into comics than you, I would say, but we're both not like super comic people, right? We don't buy issue by issue. So like I've owned the Civil War one for a very long time, since it first came out, and I decided just to reread through it again. Just because I'm still in that like Marvel mode from Spider-Man and all that stuff. Yeah, that's pretty much all I did this week. Nothing else. I didn't even watch anything but Game of Thrones, like I said. So hopefully you did a little bit more than I did. Exactly. You have good taste. Yeah, exactly. It's that comfort food RPG, man. Just yeah. Ooh, that was a weekly thing, right? Okay. Well, you've read the graphic novel, right? Yeah, so you have that frame of reference. Yeah. Is that the whole like Barbara Gordon stuff? Yeah. Probably just padded it for time, right? Yeah. Yeah. That's weird. That's weird though. Like, not that you didn't like it. 'Cause I haven't seen it yet, but I would probably be with you if I saw it too. And the reason I don't have an interest to see it is because, so people often talk about video games shouldn't become movies, and there is an argument for why they shouldn't. But I also think there's an argument that people don't talk about why they should, because it is a different medium. Not everybody plays video games. Some games have really good stories that you can tell. Now, do I think the Division movie should happen? No, not really. But like, I'm actually interested in the Uncharted movie taking place and giving people an introduction to that world, right? I think that's cool, personally. With the Killing Joke and with an animated movie, I think those are closer to each other, a comic and an animated movie, than any other two mediums at all. So that's weird. It's like, you're definitely not gaining anything from watching the animated movie, I don't think. Yeah. Exactly, yeah. Well, and like, I think that'd be different than, a lot of people want to see the Killing Joke make its way to the movies, and whether or not you like Jared Leto's Joker, that's a story for a different day. But like, I think people do, like, I would be intrigued in seeing the Killing Joke portrayed in real life, because I think you do gain some things from that that you wouldn't from the book, because I don't know, there's a realness to it. I think even with like Marvel, because I think Marvel is a lot less real world than DC is trying to be, right? Grounded in reality. But even Marvel, I think, does a good job of basing a lot of their stuff in real life. Even their suits. Like, if you ever see like the comparisons of the comic book costume for a character in the Marvel movies one, I think they do a good job of basing it in reality. And I think that's something that's cool, and I would love to see the Killing Joke one day in live action somehow, some way. Maybe even just they allude to it, or there's like, it doesn't need to be an entire movie, and maybe that's the problem with the animated movie, right? Because they had to pad it for time, because the Killing Joke isn't a large graphic novel. And I think that would be a cool way of, say, when the Batman comes out with Ben Affleck, what if their way of, if they, because there's been rumors that they might recast the Joker or do different things with the character, that'd be a cool way of introducing him in the world of the Batman, is through like flashbacks that are the Killing Joke. So it's not just necessarily a movie. I think that'd be pretty cool. But we'll see. It's cool that you watched it. I hadn't really gotten around to it. Like I said, I had no interest in hearing you say that it was. And I'm like, well, I don't want to. I'm cool. I have the Killing Joke in my closet. If I want to read it, I'll read it. I'm not really interested in watching it anymore, especially with that. Exactly. Yeah, and maybe if that Barbara section was not even shorter or not included, maybe if it was just better, because from what I heard, it's like, not only is it included to fill time, but the actual stuff that happens isn't interesting or good, you know? Yeah. 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 Enough of the Batman hour, or the Joker hour, I guess. Um, let's get into the news. Considering we didn't have a busy week doing anything else, we'll talk about the news. Let me preface this by saying we're recording the day of San Diego Comic-Con starting, so guarantee you there will be news that comes out after we record this, probably hours after we record this, so we'll cover that next week when hopefully Jordan's back, and if not, it'll be Dom and I again. So if anything pops off at San Diego Comic-Con that we don't cover, it's because we're recording before anything has really happened. The first bit of news here comes from GameIndustry.biz, and it basically talks about how Ubisoft sales are more than 80% digital. No new major releases in Q1, but overall sales still climbed 45% for the French publisher. And I'll read the first paragraph here and then we can talk about it a little bit. Ubisoft continues to fire on all cylinders, even in a quarter in which the publisher has nothing new on the market, which is wrong, and I'll get to that. Its total sales jumped up 45.2% to 202.1 million, with digital increasing from 55 to 80% of the company's digital focus. Ubisoft noted that digital accounting for more than 80% of its total revenue during the first quarter, which was up from 75% during last year's Q1. With no new major releases, back catalog sales drove 94% of the company's sales total, which Ubisoft emphasized is a sign of the recurring investment profile from its customers. The company also proudly mentioned that Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands continues to be the industry's top seller since the start of 2017. You can go ahead. Yep. Yep. Well, yeah, and people are like, well, why would they skew the numbers? Because their sales are just their sales, right? But you have to realize that, you know, publishers make more money off of digital sales than they do off of retail. So if they're able to skew the numbers in a way that doesn't dissuade retailers, but does point a picture in like, hey, buy digital, it helps them. So if they're able to be like, hey, 80% of our sales are digital, then people are like, oh, well, I should just buy Ubisoft stuff digital since everybody buys their stuff digital, right? It gets in the brain of people. Exactly. Exactly. I still thought it was a cool story. Yeah, the numbers are skewed and everything, but it's still very interesting because we are slowly climbing towards all digital future. Hopefully, the internet catches up. We have a whole thing with net neutrality, which, if you're not familiar with that, we can go on in another hour-long podcast about that. Please Google net neutrality and learn yourself something. We recently had a day dedicated to net neutrality and making sure ISPs don't screw over people. That's basically the way to sum it over. There's an opposite argument to net neutrality, but I'm definitely for it. Um, Next up, we had some Telltale news coming out of D23, I believe. This might have been just before D23. A lot of this stuff gets confusing because like not everything in here is Disney licensed. I don't think. No, definitely not. Obviously, because one of them. But Telltale announced 3 new seasons coming. They announced season 2 of Batman called Batman Enemy Within, which I'm like, is this an XCOM crossover? They announced Walking, yeah, Walking Dead, the final season, which we got some information that we'll get into. Um, and we also got Wolf Among Us season 2, which is essentially spoiled before it was announced, which is weird because a lot of people are like, the voice actor said it's happening and all this stuff, it might be happening, and then a lot of news outlets are like, it's definitely not happening, and then it happened. So it's like, all right, yeah. Which is a whole nother conversation of like, if I ran PR and marketing and social media, I wouldn't be the person that said no. I would be the person that didn't say anything. That's just my personal approach. Because I think I'd rather leave people guessing than to trick people, you know. But it teach their own. I think it's funny if you're able to play it off right. Um, but yeah, later on the show we're going to talk about Telltale and Fool and what we expect from the series and everything like that. But as far as just the announcements, Dom, are you surprised at the timing of it? Like announcing 3 projects for Telltale, was that surprising? Yeah, 'cause their only current game is Guardians, right? I'm trying to think. I think Guardians is their only current project because it's on episode 3. Yeah, it's still on episode 3. Yeah, and that's one that should be done by Batman, I think, maybe, or close to Batman, maybe. Yeah, because episode 3 comes out next week, I think. And Guardians is like, I love Marvel, I love Guardians, but that's one that I'm like, I'm just gonna wait till it's all out personally, um, because it was getting iffy reviews, and I want to play it because I still like Telltale, and unlike The Wolf Among Us, which it's probably great, I'm not saying it's not great. Marvel and Guardians intrigues me way more off of the bat, right? Um, exactly. But The Wolf Among Us getting a second season, that's going to intrigue a lot of people, including me. Um, and there's probably going to be a sale, so just hold off on getting Wolf Among Us if you haven't gotten it yet. Um, it having a second season though proves that is sold well enough, right then, right? Like, yeah, yeah. And the last one, like I said, we're going to go into all these a little bit more in depth later in the show. The last one was The Walking Dead, the final season, which I'm kind of bummed that they're already marking as the final season because The Walking Dead is my favorite out of all the Telltale games. Batman's a close second, though. I'm glad that that's getting a second season. But, like, and I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this and a lot of flack. I wish they would do this with a TV show of being like, we're doing this many seasons, right? And I think that's what really bothers me. And as heartbreaking it is we talked about earlier, we both watched Game of Thrones. As heartbreaking as it is that we only have, 14 episodes left? Because there's 7 in this season. We already watched one and then 8 next season. Yeah. Oh, there might be 7. You might be right. But, like, it's heartbreaking. We already know we're getting spinoffs, so it's not that heartbreaking. But knowing there's an end, I think, is something good, you know? And, like, knowing that you're, like, everything is going to culminate into one final ending. And I think that's one of my biggest problems with the Walking Dead TV show is that it just doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. And I know some people like that kind of television, but for like a show like that, I don't understand why it's not going to have a finale. Like, and I hate to say this, I don't know if you feel the same way, Dom. I think Walking Dead is going to be a show that goes on longer than it should, to the point where it might even be a bad show. Like, I don't think Walking Dead has had better seasons than others, but I don't think it's ever been a bad show, you know? And I just think that it's going to go to the point where it becomes a bad show. And I might be wrong about that, but going back to my original point, like, it's just weird that the Walking Dead game is going to get a finale, and it's the thing I really care about, and we're going to have to deal with the TV show not getting a finale, but ratings are ratings, so... You think so? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Well, and the weird thing is, like, and I know I've said repeatedly I don't like Breaking Bad, and I know I'm in the vast minority, but at least Breaking Bad finished in 5 seasons, right? It finished on top. It finished when people were still in love with it. And though that was heartbreaking, people still love that show. There's not like, oh, I can't believe it ended that way. I really think that, like, Breaking Bad and Game of Thrones are the future of the way TV should be, in the sense that, like, Breaking Bad is a more traditional TV show, right? Very traditional. Ended 5 seasons, didn't go too long. Game of Thrones has gone this many seasons, but they're only 8 to 10 episode seasons maximum. Obviously, these last 2 are 7 to 8. But they're like hour-long episodes with huge budgets, and they're like movies. Like, the reason I like Game of Thrones is because they're like 10 individual movies across an entire season, you know? And the production value, and, oh, it's so good. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Also, for me personally, and I don't know if you're the same way, Dom, when I hear that something that I never got into ended, and it's like, it's 5 seasons, but it's done, it's finished, beginning to end, doesn't that intrigue you more to go watch it, though? Like, knowing that it's done, you're like, okay, I don't have to worry about catching up, I don't have to worry about new seasons, anything. This is a standalone story, right? For me, that's Mad Men. Like, Mad Men is a show I want to get into and start watching because it's over. Like, people have, differing opinions on the quality of the show overall, but, like, I think the whole synopsis for that show is very intriguing. The fact that it's done is like, I know I don't have to worry about anything post that, and I think that's good. Like even like Breaking Bad, though there's Better Call Saul, which is a spin-off, I think it being done is like, you've never seen Breaking Bad, it's 5 seasons, dude, and it's done. I think that intrigues people, right? So I don't know. Yeah, exactly. But that's your fault. Unless it's like the day of, which, funny story, when Gears of War 2 came out, I might be getting this wrong. Was it Gears of War 2 or Gears of War 3 that Dom died? I could be getting this really wrong. Yeah. I'm going to say 2, though I'm probably wrong. Anyways, when the Gears game that came, and I feel bad for not knowing this off the top of my head, I'm going to say 3. When Gears of War 3 came out and Dom dies, that night when people went to go get their copies of Gears of War 3, somebody had put up a sign that they printed that says Dom dies and put it on the video game glass thing. So when people walked in to buy the game, it was just a sign that said Dom dies, and it spoiled it for everybody, which kind of sucks. But that's besides the point. Let's get into the next bit of news. Kingdom Hearts 3 arrives in 2018. The biggest lie ever. Exactly. So at D23, we got news of Kingdom Hearts 3, which people were anticipating a new trailer with Toy Story. And there was a Toy Story level, which is super exciting, I think, to a lot of people. Ever since Pixar was acquired by Disney, people are like, well, is the next Kingdom Hearts going to have Pixar levels? And, of course, we saw Toy Story. It looks beautiful. It looks even better than the characters. The Toy Story characters in this look better than most of the Toy Story movies. John Lasseter is involved in this. He's not involved in the next Toy Story, unfortunately, movie, but he was involved in this, and he basically gave them the go-ahead and said, make it good, which I think is huge pressure from John Lasseter, who's like, you know, one of the most iconic people in animation, period, much less Pixar. And I thought the level looked beautiful. Andy's room looked great. Going outside in his front yard looked really cool. The game's in Unreal Engine, and it looks unreal. But that's a huge part that they said the reason that this game has been in such dismay as far as production is because they switched over to Unreal. And Tetsuya Nomura, who's basically the director of the game, said that was a huge reason why they had to kind of start over. And I think oh yeah. Well, it also, I think it also could be a cultural thing of like from an American's perspective, because I feel you. I felt the same way of like, dude, just own up to it, you know. But it could just be a cultural difference thing. Platinum kind of did the same thing when Scalebound like got canceled, and obviously it's not entirely Platinum's fault. Microsoft was at blame too, but they kind of did the same thing, and it might just be a cultural thing, you know, where it just comes off different to us. But I agree with you that the fact that they announced 2018 to me is weird. Like, they're in a weird position, which Square Enix always seems to be because it's Square Enix, where they don't want to go too long without announcing some kind of release window because they want people to know the game's actually still being made, but they don't want to give an exact date because Square Enix takes a million years for their games. So it's like, I'm excited for people, and I really hope that this comes out in 2018, but I don't think it will. Also, we need to talk about this because this is a weird thing that I picked up on, because I do like graphic design stuff on my own time or whatever. I'm not a professional by any means, but I haven't noticed, but on multi-platform games, is the Xbox One always come first? Like when they show them on the bottom of the game titles, the Xbox One always the first one? Is that like just a thing people do? Yeah, because on the Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer, Xbox One came before PS4, which was really weird because me and Jordan had a conversation of he thought for a hot minute that it wasn't even ever going to come to Xbox One, and it still is, obviously, because it's on the trailer. The whole thing of the collection that you bought it, right? You ended up buying it, I'm assuming? Not yet. Why is that not on Xbox? People have had this conversation. I know I'm beating a dead horse, but like, it's dumb. And I hate to put it like that frank, but it's dumb. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a missed opportunity. They actually came out and had an excuse. Tetsuya Nomura came out and said essentially, we're focusing all our production on Kingdom Hearts 3. We want it to come out in 2018. Dedicating any time to ports will take us away from that. We'll worry about that after the fact. Yeah, A, outsource it. B, releasing it after the fact, I think, loses steam. Also, I think that's just a sad excuse. Like, you spent time making it for PS4. You're telling me in that same time you couldn't have ported it to Xbox One? It's not hard. It's not like porting it to Nintendo Switch, you know? Exactly. And like I just think it's a very bad missed opportunity. Like you said, I think that their potential sales would have been huge on Xbox because they have 100% audience. Well, maybe not 100%, but like 97%, right? Because there's probably some people that own both or whatever. But like, yeah, I think it was a bad like. For one, I would have bought it. I played Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, and I still would have bought it because I want a refresher on it, right? And I just think it was a bad missed opportunity. I'm glad it's coming to Xbox One, but I think the whole way they've handled it. I really want to get in a conversation with you and Jordan on Square Enix. I think people talk all the time about EA being the worst publisher, and I even have my gripes against Activision, but and I don't want to say the bad guy because I think they're publishers that are trying to earn money. But over the course of the last 6 months, I think no one's been worse than Square Enix. We had the IO Interactive fallout. We had the whole thing with Deus Ex not happening. We haven't heard about Tomb Raider, which is weird. The way they handled, obviously, Final Fantasy 15 was odd. Kingdom Hearts 3, this whole thing is like, I think they're doing a lot of bad things, and I think they have an issue where they take on Western studios and games, but they even their expectations with like Final Fantasy 14, the MMO, like I don't think they know how to properly set their expectations. You know what I mean? And they're bad at business. To be completely honest, with you. I think they're bad at business. Um, yeah, 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 and that's not. And the weird thing is, it seems like they tend to put blame on like the consumers. It's not our fault your game didn't sell well. You're the one that you didn't understand putting in the production profit loss and understanding how much it like they're just bad at that. I think like Hitman sold really well, and they were underwhelmed by by how well it sold. It's like, well, what were you expecting with a Hitman game? Like, you know, that's a whole nother discussion for another day. But yeah, Square Enix is like I still love a lot of what they do. Do not get me wrong, but like they're just making some really odd choices, and yeah, it's very odd. Um, oh yeah. Well, and people think that they're holding off some worlds like a Frozen world or a Star Wars thing or Marvel or whatever, and those are cool and everything. This is smart though because this is a big announcement that gets people interested who don't even know what Kingdom Hearts is. Like they see a game where you can play in the Toy Story world, and they're sold, dude. And like you may think that's not true. It is true. I know people like that that'll see a trailer for a game like, you get to play in the Toy Story world. I'm buying this. And it's like, well, there's a complicated story. This kid's defeating Heartless. Like they go to different. You can play in Toy Story, dude. I'm buying this game. You know, so. Well, I think it would be like Avengers cartoon, like they did with Disney Infinity type stuff. You know, I don't think it would be MCU. I think it would be like Marvel cartoon. The Star Wars one could be Rebels or something because they have a cartoon world already. Um, no, no, no. I'm not saying it would be Star Wars Rebels. I'm saying they have that aesthetic already. So I think it would be canon Star Wars, like maybe the original trilogy, but it'll be in that art style kind of. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. But like, don't you think it kind of writes itself? And I'm not saying this is good or anything, but them to be in the Star Wars world and Donald Duck has like a R2D2 skin, and Goofy either has a C3PO or a Chewbacca skin. Like, you know they would do that. Come on, you know they would do that. Yeah, I agree with you though. I would much rather like if I would much rather have Disney Pixar period. Just go to all those worlds like Pocahontas, Mulan, all that stuff. If you're gonna throw in those two, I would much rather have Marvel. Not that I'm not interested in the Star Wars one, but I think you can make that work a little bit better than the. I think the Star Wars is a little too forced. You know, I would love it. Don't get me wrong, but like it definitely comes off as forced. Oh, exactly. Let's just stop trying to put other properties in there and just try to get the game out. Yeah. Which let's take a bet right now. Is this coming out in 2018? I say no. Yeah, exactly. I don't think so. I think next year at like E3 they're gonna say late 2018, and as the year progresses, like they did with Final Fantasy, they're gonna delay it. I think that will happen. Last bit of news here before we get into our last topic. I This is huge news. I'm excited about this. I think you're excited about this too. Casey Hudson is returning to BioWare. He's actually going to be the GM. If you're not familiar with Casey Hudson, he was essentially the project lead for the first three Mass Effect games. He actually helped with developing Anthem as well. Brilliant. He was also involved in KOTOR and a bunch of other BioWare projects. Like the man is BioWare. He ended up leaving to Microsoft to work on HoloLens, and he ended up doing some stuff there. Obviously, HoloLens didn't really pan out for Microsoft, or at least I think they're going the more commercial route of like real world uses instead of video games. I think Casey had fun there though. He said he wanted to focus on family life and stuff like that. He's coming in. Aaron Flynn is leaving. I first want to say, so Aaron Flynn also made a post saying, "Thank you for your time. I was actually thinking about leaving. Casey wanted to come back. It was perfect timing." I think part of this is the recent issues with Bioware, but I do think Aaron Flynn was probably looking to get out. Like, people think that Aaron Flynn came in after Casey Hudson. They've both been there for a very long time, and then Casey left and Aaron stayed. I appreciate what Aaron Flynn did for Bioware too. I think a lot of people are giving him too much crap. I think people are like, "Oh, Casey's coming back. I can't wait for Bioware to be the Bioware of old," and all this stuff. And like, Aaron Flynn was in the lead. I understand that, but he wasn't wholly responsible for the issues with Andromeda. You know, he does have partial blame, but I don't think he should have all of it carried on his back. You know, um, yeah, exactly. And I'm not gonna lie to you, Casey Hudson being back is great. Would I like Casey Hudson to come back and Aaron Flynn also to be there? Yes, but Casey Hudson being back in any form, I'm super excited for personally. He he helped. He was essentially the front runner in my favorite video game franchise. So like the way people who love Metal Gear look at Kojima is the way I look at Casey Hudson. To be quite honest with you, like I'm an aspiring game dev, and he's somebody I look at and I read a lot of stuff from him and try to figure out his brain and how it works and stuff like that because he knows how to make successful projects and good stuff. Um, yeah, you're a big Bioware guy too, Dom. Are you excited about Casey coming back? Oh yeah. Well, and also replacing Aaron Flynn. If you're one of those people that think Aaron Flynn's wholly to blame, which I think you're dumb for that in the first place, but if you're one of those people that thinks Aaron Flynn leaving and Casey's going to solve all of BioWare's problems, yeah. Also, people tend to forget like Aaron Flynn was the GM there when they released Dragon Age Inquisition, and yeah, some people there's like some weird revisionist history where people say it's not that good of a game. That game won like multiple Game of the Year awards, like. That game was a great game, and there's some weird revision. I love that game. There's some weird revisionist history of people saying it wasn't a good game because of Andromeda and stuff like that. Like, I don't know. I think Aaron Flynn did a lot of good for BioWare, and I agree with you that Casey Hudson I think is going to be influential, but it's not going to be, oh, he's turning a 5 into a 10, which I don't think Andromeda is a 5, but just for example, you know. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Well, and yeah, and another analogy because you went directly almost GM to GM kind of situation. It's kind of like on a football team. No one really knows the name of the kicker and the punter until they mess up numerous times in a row. You know, exactly. Like they hit all the PATs, they hit all the field goals, they do really good at punting, and no one really cares about them. They're in the foreground, whatever, whatever. The moment they mess up and they lose you a game, you remember that person's name, and you're yeah. It's just I feel bad for Aaron Flynn in this situation. I'm excited for Casey Hudson. Like you said with Anthem, Flynn was there for a majority of it. Casey Hudson is going to be there for the polish and late stages of game development and marketing and stuff like that. But as far as like from the ground, he was there. Yeah, exactly. It's the wheels are already turning essentially, um, and I do like that. I do like that Bioware made it a case to have Casey's story literally right next to Aaron's. Like, I do think it would have came off really weird if Aaron didn't have a blog post, or if his came out later, or if his came out earlier. I think both of them being posted at the same time, side by side, is like we're ushering in somebody that we loved, and we're letting go of somebody we loved. You know, I do think they handled it well. Yep. Also, people tend to forget that when Casey left, people thought it was because of Mass Effect 3. Like, the same thing happened that's happening with Aaron Flynn of, like, him leaving because of Andromeda. Yeah, so I think there's a correlation there, and I wish Aaron Flynn the best. I'm excited for Casey Hudson, but, yeah, I think people don't give Aaron Flynn enough credit, and like you said, I'm optimistic for Casey Hudson. I don't think it's going to be, it's not going to be crazy or anything, but um, I'm just glad to have him back at Bioware. That's super exciting. Um, the last topic here, you wanted to talk about Telltale, right? Da, 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 da. Eighth, you're right. Eighth. Yeah. Yeah, cool. Um, yeah, for me, it comes down to a game of expectations. Like, so Telltale are like some of the best storytellers I think in video games. Point blank. Period. I think they nail storytelling. Well, I'm talking about like even for their level, they're not AAA. Like, I think the only people that are better storytellers are some AAA developers, Naughty Dog and such, and like maybe Steve Gaynor, Fulbright, Gone Home, and there's a couple of people, but I do think Telltale's up there. They're in the upper echelon, right? And I think it's all expectation. First off, these aren't $60 games, and I know value and price and all that stuff, but like I, I expect a little jank for a game that's as cheap as the Telltale games, right? Exactly. Also, I've never had the game break. I've never had the eat and saves or the eyeball floats. I've had frame rate issues and stuff like that, but I think some of that jank is a little, I don't know, comforting. It's weird. I don't think it's as bad. I'm with you when I first saw these announcements. It was more ecstatic and energetic than it was jaded and pessimistic. As far as if they were to fix their engine, which I'm like, cool, that'd be great, but it's not something I'm vying for. Like, give me more great stories, Telltale. Work on your engine. The engine isn't the priority to me. If they were to fix their engine, I would hope it would be at a year point. So like, obviously Batman isn't going to be a new engine. I would put money on it that it's not going to be a new engine. Because if it's already coming out August 8th, it's been in development for how long, and they're still working on Guardians. I don't know. I don't think that. Plus, the stuff we've seen doesn't look like it's in a new engine anyways. But I would hope if they launch a new engine, it would be like the 2018 starts. All of their 2018 games are on the new engine. It's weird to me to release games in the same year that you're releasing a new engine. You know what I mean? Like, we have Walking Dead and Batman the first half of this year, and Guardians on the old engine, and then the new engine is these other games, while games are currently coming out for the old engine. That's weird to me, like the overlay. You know what I mean? I think that's weird and odd. Like I said, yeah, I would like a new engine, but that's not my priority for Telltale. Like, if you told me what are the things you want from Telltale the most, it would be 1, more great stories. 2, I would list properties that I want them to tackle or seasons that we haven't gotten yet. And 3 would probably be engine. It's up there. It's a priority, but it's not number 1 for me. I think if they were worse at the games they made in terms of storytelling and getting you invested, I think this would be a very big problem and a very big priority for people. Like, your games aren't even that great and your engine sucks. But I do think their games are good, and I think that they can get away with that. For how long? Who knows? I think this could bite them in the butt if they do release a stinker. But yeah, I don't like the hyperbole of people being like, oh, their games are unrunnable and all this stuff. It's like, what were you expecting, dude? This isn't CD Projekt Red. This isn't Naughty Dog. Like, yeah, exactly. Or if you're even piecemeal, if you're buying them episode by episode as they come out, it's like nothing. You know what I mean? I don't know. The whole conversation bothers me because, to me, looking at Telltale, that's not my priority when I look at them. You know what I mean? So, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and the other specifics we don't get into is like, we don't know the split. Like, for being able to use those properties, we don't know the split that the property owners get out of each sale. So like, though Telltale's games sell a lot, we don't know the exact amount of money they make. And guess what, people? Building engines isn't free. Like, yeah. And I'm not saying their engine would be super expensive, but like, I don't think we know all the numbers, and until we do or whatever, we can't really make a justification standing on a high horse of like, Telltale, I'm the all-knowing, and yeah, so I think exactly. And so if me, you, and Jordan sat down in a room and did a podcast, no, if we sat down in a room and we talked about what are our gripes with the latest season of Walking Dead, I think it would be mentioned some point in that conversation if one of us had a bug or an error, but I think the first thing that would come up is like, I don't like the way they handled Clem. It seemed like I was forced to get along with her because I already knew her. It was character stuff. That's the stuff that should be a priority for you for a game that's focused on that. Once again, you said these aren't gameplay games. Like, there isn't a whole lot of gameplay. Exactly, yeah. 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 Okay. Let's start with The Wolf Among Us, since that's the one we're probably least interested in out of the three. Yeah. 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 I've only played I don't even know. I've only played, I think, 3 episodes. So I'll explain to you. And I don't know how long ago you played Wolf Among Us. You might not even remember. But I played up until the point where you catch the pig guy in the alleyway. You know how you have the conversation and you find out that the frog guy, his son, was getting hit or something, or that whole situation. So I think like episode 3. I never finished it. I liked it. I just never got around to it. And what I'm thinking is, I'm just gonna wait. I think until it goes on sale too, and then I'm gonna play through the first season and the second season all at once. Just because, like you said, it's not an IP I'm super involved with, and I'm okay with waiting. You know, and I'm cool just taking all at once. It's not something I didn't dislike. It's just something that's like I'm not super involved in. You want to talk about? Hmm. Interesting. You Yeah. Let's do Walking Dead since that's the farthest away, and then we'll end with Batman since that's the closest. You want to do that? So, I want to say, though, real quick, I haven't finished episode 5 yet, which I'm going to play this week, because I just realized I had never finished New Frontier. Unless I did finish it, I don't know. I'm going to go back and play it. I don't know. Now that you're pointing that out, you might be right. I might just be thinking I didn't play episode 5. Either way, go ahead. Now you have me confused. I'm like, did I? Because I could have sworn. Yeah, alright. His full name's Javier, but he went by Javi majority of the game, yeah. Really quick, sorry to go on a tangent. My biggest pet peeve with Injustice 2, Blue Beetle, his real name is Javier Reyes. And they mispronounced the name Javier like 4 times in that thing, and it bothers me because I'm okay with if like you're not familiar with Lion culture and you're like Javi or something, but they said it really weird. They said like Javier or something. They said it really weird and it really bothered me. Like they went out of their way to mispronounce it. Yeah, really weird. Anyways, go ahead. Sorry for going on that tangent. No. It wasn't Javier. Sorry. It was Jaime, and they said Jaime. They didn't say Jamie or they didn't say Jaime. They said Jaime, which was really weird. Or Jaime. Yeah, really weird. Which is fine, but if you're making a video game, come on. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. 100%, yeah. Um, I'm interested to see what the time jump is, because if it is the final season, I'm interested to see where they leave off at. The thing that I talked about before the show started is my biggest gripe with it, looking back now that we know there's a final season, is that the Javier thing kind of seems shoehorned in now. Like, was it meant to be a Javi story, and then at the last moment they realized we can't release the next Walking Dead without Clementine being involved? We need a writer into this, and then that kind of muddied that water. Like, it just seems like a whole awkward situation. But I think we can be satisfied at the fact that we're getting another Walking Dead season for sure, at least one more. You said you believe there's going to be more, which it's a strong bet considering the IP and the money it makes. At least for a fact, we know we're playing as Clem, though. No questions asked. We know we're getting one final season controlling her. That's cool. I'm super excited. I don't think it's too early to talk about our wants and needs and stuff like that. I think knowing that we're going to be playing as Clem, I think satisfies us right until that game comes out. I think we're completely fine with seeing what they do. And I think the next one is one we're excited for, because for me, Batman was surprising. Like, I like Batman. I like Batman as a character, and I was intrigued in playing it. I didn't think I was going to like the Telltale game as much, and I loved it. I thought the twists in it were really cool. You're the bigger Batman guy, so you can go first. I don't want to hold you off from talking about it. Yeah. 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 And the cool thing that we didn't really touch on is they kind of hinted at the story. We know Joker. Obviously, the first season ended with Joker being free. He narrates the teaser, and we see Riddler stuff. So this seems like it's going to be heavily revolved around the Riddler and Joker, which is super cool. There's going to probably be other people, including Two-Face, which I think is a huge part of this game. That Jordan finished the first season and he doesn't have Two-Face. He still has Harvey Dent. That's so cool. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I have Two-Face as well. Yeah. Well, and well, yeah, because it wasn't even really a Clementine thing. Like, that's the whole thing that was even a huge problem with. Is like they were like, no, remember your decisions mattered. We're shoehorning him into this. Um, but with Batman, this is like, for me, the Guardians thing is interesting, and I think I'm gonna play Guardians. Like I said, I'm gonna play Guardians when all the episodes are out. But like seeing what they're doing with Batman really wants me. I really want a Spider-Man Telltale game, um, because yeah, yeah, oh, yeah, exactly. And the decisions you make of like just being Peter Parker and like, hey, go ask her out, or like just go talk to her, or like, do you do a pickup line? Do you just say hello? Like all of that stuff, like playing with Peter and Spider Man, because like there are a fair number of similarities with Batman and Spider Man of dealing with loss and balancing lives and stuff like that. But like most of the time with Batman, it's not balancing his life between Bruce Wayne and Batman. It's just making sure he's still Bruce Wayne. Whereas with Spider-Man, it is a focus on balance. You know what I mean? And I think a Spider-Man game would be good from Telltale, considering they've nailed Batman so much. Um, yeah, I'm excited for Batman. Is there a villain? So we know Riddler and we know Joker, and obviously we saw some other villains in the first game. Is there a villain that you want in this that we don't know is in it? Is there anybody off the top of your head that you're like, oh, that would be cool? The manipulator, yeah, behind the scenes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, me too. Yeah. Hugo Strange is like a big guy, a big villain, but I don't think they really need him in this either. And I forgot about Penguin still being around, and maybe they don't need anybody else. Now that I think about it, maybe that's just cool. They might have like nods to characters, like they show the real name of somebody, but he's not really a villain yet. Because they had like Victor Vaz, who's like the homicidal maniac. They had him in season 1, and he didn't really do much. Um, Another question is like, yeah, like are we gonna see Harley? Because there's Joker. Like we have Catwoman. I know, but we have Catwoman? Are we gonna see Robin or something? Like Robin would be an interesting thing if Robin shows up, or if like he develops a relationship to for whoever they decide to be the Robin in this Batman universe. Um, which there was a question of that kid. You remember that kid that you helped save in season 1? That'd be interesting. Yeah. I mean, he's black, and Robin has never been black, but who cares? This is like an original Batman story, or whatever. Yeah, that could be interesting. Yeah, I'm excited. It's right around the corner, which I love. Like when people like we live in a realm now where people are like, oh yeah, people like that when you announce a game and then it comes out next month, and like we didn't know Batman was coming out, and now I'm super excited for it. Whereas if you said yeah, like even though as excited we are for Walking Dead, the final season, we know it's not till next year, so it's like whatever. Like I'm not gonna get my hopes up because it's not for a while. If they did that with Batman, we're like, oh, it's cool, it's Joker and Riddler, but it's not for like a year, whatever. The fact that it's like next month, dude, less than a month, it's like 2 weeks. It's awesome. Oh, exactly. Well, and the weird thing too is like if you'd have told me they're announcing Wolf Among Us 2, Batman 2, and Walking Dead last season, I would have said Wolf Among Us would have been the one this year because we just had Batman, right? Wolf Among Us has been the longest one. But I do think it's smart though because yeah, Wolf Among Us coming out is cool, and some people would be excited for it, but people will still be yearning for the other two. And with this, it's like we get Batman, and then we have Walking Dead and Wolf Among Us. It's like it's really cool. Um, Also, one thing I didn't know, Dom, when doing research or looking into this, Game of Thrones season 2, Telltale Game of Thrones season 2 is confirmed. They just don't have a release date, but it's like a confirmed project they're working on. I didn't know that. I was like, oh, are they ever gonna make it? And it's like, no, it's a project they're working on. So, I hope it comes out after the next season of Game of Thrones, just cause like, you just like cool. Yeah, yeah, but it's more Game of Thrones, which I'm okay with. Yeah. I think that's it for this week's show. Hopefully Jordan's back next week. It was just Dom and I. As far as what I'm going to be playing, I'm going to check to see if I finished episode 5. Because you have me, like, I thought I didn't finish it, but now that you're saying that we did have that, or did we, I don't know. I'm going to go check. Yeah, I think I just psyched myself out. Um, this weekend, I don't know what I'm going to see yet, but I'm either going to see Dunkirk, War of the Planet of the Apes, or Valerian. And I know people are saying Valerian isn't a great movie, but like I really like the visuals in that movie. And I think it's from like the same people who did the concept stuff for The Fifth Element. I could be wrong about that, and I love The Fifth Element. But like Dunkirk is a for sure. I just don't know if I'm seeing it this weekend. And War of the Planet of the Apes, I still need to catch up because I didn't see the middle one. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, yeah, because it's Rise, then Dawn, then War. Yeah, Dunkirk looks cool. I'm kind of peeved at Nolan's comments about Netflix and stuff. I could have a whole conversation about that. I don't know if you saw that, Dom. He basically said that like they have a carousel of movies they just pop out and they don't treat the craft as a craft and all this garbage. I'm like, I like you, Nolan, but you're a little pretentious, dude. Yeah, you make good movies, but shut up. Yeah, Dunkirk looks awesome though. And as far as games, like I said, I'm gonna check up on a Walking Dead, and I think I'm gonna get around to finishing Prey. I was just realizing that I never finished Prey, so I think I'm gonna do that. So, pretty much it for me. And Game of Thrones episode 2, obviously. Ooh, baby. Yeah. Are you in the dog days of summer? Sorry. Yeah. My only solution is that Spider-Man will be gone from theaters sooner than Dunkirk since it comes out this week. So you might want to see Spider-Man and then see Dunkirk. But I know you love Nolan. So you might want to see Dunkirk and then see Spider-Man. Yeah. 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 Both of those movies you need to see in the theater though. That's the issue. Yeah. Because both those movies have tremendous scores. Like, oh, and I'm not a huge Nolan fan. Like, I like Nolan films, but some people are crazy Nolan fans. But like, if you're gonna watch a Nolan movie, you need to see it for the first time in a theater. I agree with that. Yeah, I love Interstellar is one of my favorite movies. I loved it so much. I felt that way about. I felt that way about what's the one that came out where it was like reality manipulating. That movie was just like, eh. It was that. That's how I felt. So I see where you're coming from. Yeah. He's one of those people that I don't like him in almost everything he does except for Interstellar and True Detective. I thought he was great in True Detective, and I liked him in Interstellar, but like there's a lot of stuff I don't like him in. Like in did you ever see Dazed and Confused? It's like a time period movie of like 80s kids in high school and stuff, and he plays this like guy that's already out of high school, but he hits on high school chicks, like a weird creepy dude, and he's like, you want to know the great thing about high school girls? I get older, they stay the same age. I'm like, great, Matthew McConaughey, great. um, yeah, but that's a tough decision. I think both those movies, like you said, it's easier when it's like, do I see Hangover 2 or do I see a Christopher Nolan movie in a theater? Well, no shit. But it's like superhero movies are great in theaters and Nolan movies are great. So it's like, yeah. I think that's it for us. Please follow us on Twitter at CTRLINT. We update with all of our content and news happenings and all that stuff. I'm at Jared _. Dom is at Dom's Oreos. Please follow us and rate us on iTunes. This week it will have both of our audio channels and not just Dom. Yeah, please rate and subscribe. It definitely helps us. YouTube, we're really close to 100 subscribers. I know I say this every week. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Any closing words, Dom? Wave of the hands. Catch you guys next week. Bye.